What is up, you guys, and welcome to the Prime Vanguard channel. Today I'm going to be doing a Polaris test hand after showcasing you guys my Polaris deck profile. If you have not seen the deck profile for this deck, please go ahead and check it out in the description below before watching this video. It's going to be a showcasing of how this deck plays out turn by turn on 1 damage intervals, so that you guys have an understanding what my Polaris deck performs like and how I play the deck whenever I'm playing at an event or locals. If you guys enjoy more test hand videos like these, please give this video a thumbs up. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. If they want to play a Polaris deck and they're looking for something fun to play or try out, go and share this video with them so they have an idea of what the deck does. Without further ado, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop onto this video. Alright, we've done our redraw. Let's go ahead and get this video started. So we'll start off by drawing for turn. After doing our redraw, the goal of that when going first with Polaris, depending on what the matchup is really just right now to set up for key pieces to have them on the turn after Polaris goes, where you can get the restand. So I only have one grade 3 right option right now, which is Mini Belly. I'm very satisfied with the grade 3s in my hand, so anything after that is pretty much like fodder. So I'll draw for the starter skill of Hyrax. And then, okay, I've got double ambers. That's actually really good. Then I'll go ahead and use the skill of Mini Belly. Let's see what we get. Another ambers. Okay, so what we'll do is, it kind of hurts, but depending on the matchup, losing one of the ambers is not so bad, and we're filtering out the deck more for triggers later. So it's okay for now. So I'll drop and draw an ambers. Little shuffle, and then end my turn. My opponent will go, I'll take a point of damage, I scored a lemur, and then it's my turn. So I stand and draw. Nice, I got Isabel, that is perfect. Okay, so again, depending on the matchup, if you want to go more aggressive, if you are going first, you might not be so hyper aggressive simply for the fact that you don't get the restand. So Fossa isn't that good, plus I lost out on a lemurs, which means I don't have any counter charge for next turn. So to prevent my opponent from wanting to go for a counter charge play, I'm going to go into not counter charge play, but damage denial play. I'm going to go into Parakeet, check top 7. Let's see what we get here. 5, 6, 7. Okay, we have another Isabel and a Panther. I already have one Isabel in hand and I have one Ambers in hand. I'm going to go ahead and take the Panther. This way I have all of my deck's grade 3s accessible to me for my Polaris turn. So if I want to be really aggressive on the turn after that, then I will go ahead and do that. Or again, like I was saying, depending on the matchup, sometimes you might not even do that. You might go for your Flow Panther and use his ability to get yourself a bunch of draws. I know it might seem bad, but it's actually really not. Sometimes you just have to net resources to survive your opponent's crazy grade 3 turn. So they'll go, they're at grade 2 at this point, they'll do their thing. We will attack, drive check, front trigger, okay, and then it's their move. And we'll take our 1 point of damage. Polaris, that's honestly fine, we don't care about rewriting. Then we will stand and draw. All right, we have a tapping cat, nice. So we'll go into Polaris. Okay, Polaris players, I'm letting you know this now, or anybody wants to play Polaris, you are always going Excel 1. No ifs, ands, or buts. The only time you will ever go Excel 2 in this deck is if you do not see Polaris and you're forced to ride this. So you can filter your deck more for Polaris. It sucks, but at that point you are really looking for like your key grade 3 winning piece. If you just don't have Polaris, but the game is still going slow, I would still even go into this to thin my deck out more to find Polaris. But right now, I'm going to assume that the game is going just fine. I'm not playing against anything that's too heavy control or too aggro, at least with the resources now. So we have Polaris. We'll play Ambers on Excel 1. Ambers on Excel 1 will now be a 32k unit. And then we will go ahead and we can call out our Isabel, because we're not going to use Fossa this turn. I want to use my counterblast for Polaris. We'll use her skill, check top 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's no triggers here. So, what to do? So what we can do is one of two things. We can, if we want to, we can use Fosa's skill and maybe call something out if you really don't care about using Polaris right now, but you're gonna meet the threshold for that. Or we can keep everything. I don't want to lose out on another Amber, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep everything the way it is, but I'm gonna stack the deck like that. So unfortunately we didn't see any triggers, which is gonna suck, but our opponent doesn't know that. So what we'll do now is we will call a Flow Panther and a Tapping Cat. Now that that's done, we'll go into our battle phase. There's no point using power-up skills right now because everything on the board hits the power threshold for the 50k skill. This is gonna be 20, and then this will be 32 on its own. This is gonna restand first, so let's attack their Vanguard with Ambers. Their Vanguard, depending on the matchup, will either be a 10k or a 9k. So this card demands the Heal Guardian or at least 25,000 point shield. 9 times out of 10, the first one on this Polaris turn, they usually take it because they just don't wanna use that much resources. So Ambers will go off. Ambers, it doesn't matter what you power up because we're not gonna see more triggers, but I'll give the power onto my Flow Panther, and then we'll go ahead and attack with this. This will be 20,000 to their Vanguard. They've seen the front, so maybe they don't think we're playing crits, so they'll probably take this one, and we'll attack with that. We already know we weren't gonna get nothing. And then we'll go into our next attack after using Polaris' skill to counterblast one. We will restand this, and then we'll attack again with it first, because remember, we're trying to keep pressure. So this will attack, and if it hits something, it gives something 10k. So your opponent may or may not block that, and then we'll attack with these. That turn was a pretty dry turn. We didn't really get anything too explosive, but with Polaris, this is usually what it's like going first. Unfortunately, because he doesn't get that restand unless your opponent's at grade 3, you can't really be super explosive on that type of turn. If anything, if you were playing it's like a force deck, maybe, and you want to put more pressure, maybe you can call the Fosa out, or maybe you scale the Flow Panther instead of the Polaris skill to get more board and stuff for you to filter out for pieces. But personally, I prefer doing it like this because I still have a decent sized hand of 6 cards, I'm at 2 damage, and I've got all my pressure pieces still on board for next turn. Moving on to hand 2. All right, we've drawn into our second hand after the redraw. We will now go ahead and start our turn. So in the second hand, we're also going first again. Okay, so our hand this time is a little bit more aggressive. So it all comes down to really what our Bobashek will draw into us. We'll use beginning Hyrax, draw for starter. We already drew for turn. A Parakeet, so I'm gonna use Bobashek. I'm gonna drop this, draw again, and then Isabel. Okay, so we've lost out on not really anything too much. It's gonna probably turn out like our previous turn going first. Our opponent will attack us, deal us damage. Oh, cool, we got a draw trigger. That means we get to draw another card. So Doro. Lemur, nice. Actually, we might play a little bit aggressive this turn. And then what we're gonna do is we'll draw again for our turn, a double Lemur. Okay, perfect. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna play a little aggressive here. We're gonna go into Measured Fosa. We're gonna use its skill instead of the Parakeet this time. Check top 2. Okay, so we're gonna call the Amber's Triangular out because we're not trying to lose these, and they can't even be valuable without the Excel Circle. Call this out here, and then what I am gonna do this time is, assuming that since I'm going first, my opponent's on 8k, so I'm gonna call the Affiliated Lemur over here. And the reason being is because this is 22k, so my opponent will have to use more than a 10k guard to stop this for its attack. So we'll use Affiliated Lemur, and then Lemur's skill will kick in. We'll mill, so we got a normal unit, which means we're gonna soul charge. Okay, so we soul charge 2 normal units, which increases the likeliness of me seeing a trigger. Regardless of what it is, it's gonna be impactful. But what I'm gonna do is, since this is my strongest attack, and this only powers up rear guards, I have to play it a certain way. This is really greedy, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and attack my Fosa and hope for just 1 trigger. It doesn't matter what the trigger is, as long as we can give the trigger onto our Amber's Triangular here and make it bigger with our opponent not hitting a damage trigger. This can become 18k and will force more cards out of the hand. So assuming my opponent will just take this one, here goes nothing, drive check, no trigger. All right, so they take their 1 point of damage. Assuming they didn't get a damage trigger, we'll go with the Ambers. The Ambers is at 22 to their 8, so let's say they drop 15, this doesn't power up, or if it does, it'll be at 18, and then we'll attack with this. So therefore, like regularly, now we play a little bit aggressively, we've got some aggression going, and we have a lot of grade 3s in hand, so that's why I was switching up a little bit, because sometimes if you deal your opponent a lot of damage in the early game, it makes those players' turns a little bit scarier. So now that it's their turn, they're onto their grade 2, they'll ride their grade 2, and they may or may not call something else, but to damage deny us, they're gonna either A, attack the lemur or the triangular. So knowing how valuable the triangular is to us in our game, if they do choose to go for it, you may or may not block for it. Me personally, since they're damage denying me, I can't lose my lemur because I need to make sure that I have a counterblast for next turn, because I'm gonna use Isabel to stack my deck to get a counterblast. So that's fine, they can have it. We're gonna assume that they didn't pull a trigger, or even if they did pull a trigger, which is fine, this will go away, doesn't matter. We will leave this in play and say that they did not, just for our own benefit, so you have an idea what goes on. But that does happen a lot, because when you play aggressively like that, they're trying to take away your restand, but we have more lemurs, so we're cool. So we'll draw for our turn. Okay, we got a front trigger. That means we have 2 fronts left in deck, which to be wary of. And then we're gonna go into Polaris. We're still going Excel 1 as always. There's no reason not to. And then once that's done, we'll go ahead and start playing our pieces around. So before I do anything, I need to move my lemur back, and I need to get on my Isabel. Isabel's skill will check top 3. Okay, we got a heal trigger. Losing the heal trigger right now at this stage of the game is perfectly fine. And the reason being is because I'm only at 1 damage because they try to damage deny me from getting my restand. So the Ambers I have on board, and I have an Ambers in hand, I can search this out later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to rearrange top cards in my deck like this. So I got a heal up front, I have Mini Belly and Ambers. Then I'm gonna go ahead and play the Affiliate Lemur. Affiliate Lemur will pop off. I'll mill the heal trigger and I'll countercharge 1. Okay, Polaris is alive now because we have a counterblast to do it, and he's got an 8k booster behind him, so he'll be 20,000 power. We'll then go into our other Amber's Triangular, and now we have 2 pressure cards on board. So they're at grade 2 now, which means that they're at 10k minimum or 9k minimum, so they can 15k block things to make it not hit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attack with this Ambers first. It's gonna be 32 to their Vanguard, and if I hit something, it'll power up. This makes a magic number against their grade 2, and this makes a magic number against their grade 2. Both of these columns require them to block with 15k or more, so that's something to keep in mind, so they know that if they take this, the pressure is gonna get even worse. But we're gonna assume that they drop their Heal Guardian and they're at 10k. That actually happens a lot against scenarios like this. They try to stop the Polaris because they wanted to slow me down, but it did not work. But assuming that they drop their Heal Guardian or whatever, that's perfectly fine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna save this for later because we're gonna hit the power threshold anyway. So we'll be 20,000 to their Vanguard. We'll say that they take this one, or they want us to 1 pass. Well, no, if they're 10k, we're 20, we'll get through anyway. But either way, we'll go for our drive check first and second, which we already knew was not gonna be anything special, but we still have the conditions to meet Polaris' skill for a Counterblast 1 and restand this. Now your attack pattern doesn't matter. What you can do if you do get it off, is you can go Ambers. Oh, say it doesn't hit. Oh, say it hits this time. Okay, power up this Ambers. Now this Ambers is 32. Okay, say this one hits, then power up the Isabel. Okay, now it's 30 over here. So that's something fun you can do if you get it off. I mean, it's really greedy. Like that was a really like going first greedy turn. It's only because I had the double lemur to do that, and I had the Isabel as well, that I was able to stack my deck for that. If I had all normal units, that would actually like really hurt. I would have to like, yeah, I would have lost out on a turn there, but I had the double lemur and I had the Isabel, so I was able to play greedy like that.